Okay, so welcome everyone. I'm Alejandro, professor at the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, or just Southern University of Brazil. It's quite complex to say it in English. And I'm very happy to see here many friends, many old friends, many well-known researchers in the field. This is a very good indicator that maybe the call is an interesting topic for the community. And so we are very excited to present today an overview about what we are targeting with this call. We think that it's an important issue for our community, and we are very happy to see that there are many people interested in this call, and we want to help you to understand what we are targeting, what we aim with this call, and so that you can also have a good chance to get a good paper at IJOPM, and through this also contributing to our community. So the call is Beyond Industry 4.0, integrating lean digital technologies and people. And together with me are here Professor Giuliano Marodin, Moacir, Godinho, Filho, and Matthias, Thurer, and I'm going to introduce to them in a couple of minutes. So we are the 4 guest editors. 3 of us are coming from Brazil, but we are representing different continents. Giuliano is based in the United States. Moacir is currently in Europe, and Matthias is between Asia and Europe as well. So we work in some different and also convergent fields. Some of us in the technology management fields, other more in the pure lean manufacturing field, others in the operation excellence, more general field. And we discussed this opportunity to have this call for papers because we all are working on these issues and similar issues, and we saw this opportunity as to encourage the community to think deeper and maybe broader on these issues between lean industry 4.0 and especially people. So I'm from the Federal University of Rio Grande do Sul. This is the Southern University in Brazil. Giuliano is from University of South Carolina, or South Caroline in the United States. Moacir Godinho Filho is an EM Normandy Business School in France, and Matthias Thurer is in Jinan University in China. And what we want today with this webinar, first we want to give you an introduction to the call for paper. We want to speak a little very shortly about what is this call for paper. In the second part, we want to have a guest editor's view on the topic and the topics aimed for the call for papers. Especially Giuliano and me, we will discuss our views on lean and industry 4.0 and the convergency, or also the tensions when we consider people in the middle of these 2 perspectives. Then we will have a guest editor's view on the research methods and paper style aimed in this call for paper. Moacir and Matthias will speak about methods and also especially for the impact pathways that IJOPM is aiming for also through this call. And finally, we want to open a main part of this webinar. We want to open for question and answers. And please, during our talk, you can write in the message box, in the chat box. You can put your questions there so that we can also easily administrate that after. We will read your comments and we will try to answer as much as possible all the comments that you have. This is an important part because many of the part of the information is already there in the website, but many of you may have some doubts about things that we are concerned about or things that we want to highlight in our call and so on. So please use this moment to take as much as possible, to clarify as much as possible all your doubts regarding this colorful paper. So first of all, let's start with the introduction to this colorful paper. What is the research context? What is motivating us regarding this topic? So we know that the first point, there are three main papers that were the base of our debate, what we thought about this issue. Two of these papers are originally from my research group. The other one is one from Rafaela Giuliano and her team, which was already published at IJOPM. All these papers are talking about different perspectives of Industry 4.0, digital transformation manufacturing, and the role of workers. Some of them are talking about operators 4.0, others are talking about smart working in the Industry 4.0 context, or smart workers in the Industry 4.0 context, and so on. But the point is that there's a growing literature, a new and growing literature about the convergence between digital technologies and workers. From the other side, there is also a lean literature that has advanced on the focus on Industry 4.0 and has tried to show how Industry 4.0 connects or not with lean manufacturing. But the point is that if we consider the last 10 years of evolution of the Industry 4.0 context, which is what is shown in this first paper from Mendel et al., the main stream of Industry 4.0 has focused mainly on increasing productivity and automating processes. If some of you are aware of the Architect Industry 4.0 model, the last most advanced step of Industry 4.0 that they propose is an autonomous system. And when we think about autonomous systems, we ask to ourselves, what is autonomous? Autonomous from whom? Is that not having people in the factory? And what about people? And what about a context in which, for instance, some or most of the factories, they came from lean manufacturing, in which they were very concerned about also the workers' lifestyle, the workers' improvements and engagement in the system. And what about now when we are considering digital transformation? These three papers here, they brought up this perspective of including workers and focusing technology to enhance these workers. But we have also another stream of research that is focusing on digital transformation as a way of substituting workers, even if they don't say exactly that or explicitly that. So we have here a problem that motivates our colorful paper, which is, let's discuss deeply about the role of workers when we try to connect lean and Industry 4.0. And this is what we are targeting here. And we want to, our call brings discussion not only on the benefits of lean and Industry 4.0, but also the tensions and the paradoxes that we can find when we try to bring these two perspectives together. In our view, there is a too optimistic point of view of integrating lean and Industry 4.0, and we want to make some progress also to have bringing a more critical perspective of that. This is what was the research context that motivated our call. So what are the general objectives of this call? First of all, to provide empirical evidence on effective integration between lean and Industry 4.0, or lean and smart manufacturing, digital transformation, or whatever you want to call to this phenomenon. So when we highlight empirical evidence, is because we believe that many studies on lean and Industry 4.0, they are not robust enough to provide a convincing perspective of these two streams together. So we want a robust empirical evidence of what is happening. And the second point is that we want to provide also theoretical underpinning, explaining this evidence, for example, about why integration is sometimes achieved or sometimes not achieved when we focus on lean and Industry 4.0. So we want to make more progress on theory. We have a lot of studies regarding the adoption of technologies. A lot of studies are regarding the adoption of lean practices, but what about the theory that supports these perspectives? So here are potential topics that we address in our call. How does new technologies impact workers' routine? Will lean workers accept non-human decisions? How can lean contribute to unlock the potential of new technologies, new digital technologies? How can new digital technologies enhance lean? What strategies can managers adopt when encountering paradoxes when jointly implementing lean and Industry 4.0? How can lean and Industry 4.0 be integrated in complex and dynamic environments such as healthcare and supply chains under uncertainties? How should Industry 4.0 and lean programs be implemented in practice? And what problems do companies that implement Industry 4.0 and lean face, and how they can be addressed? And what solutions exist, and what solutions can be designed to integrate lean and Industry 4.0? These are only some potential topics. We are just provoking some thoughts for researchers to think about, but of course you might have other research questions that can be suitable to our main concern in this call for paper. So this is just to give you a big overview. Then our second part of this presentation is bringing to you just a small perspective, first from the lean side and then from the Industry 4.0 side. And we divide this part here between me and Giuliano Marodin, who is also here. And we want to give you our perspectives of what he as an expert on lean and me as an expert and I as an expert of Industry 4.0 thinks about this integration. So we want to discuss what are the opportunities and tensions in this interface when we considering their impact on workers. So I give first I want to provoke Giuliano with a question to you. So what should lean experts think when they consider the interface with Industry 4.0, and what would be interesting to this call from a lean expert perspectives like you?
So hi, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon. So that's a very good question. So as Alejandro said, we started by kind of looking at the literature and talking and say, people seems to be very optimistic about this thing. Everything is going to work. A lot of papers say that everything is going to work and will be good for everybody. Companies are doing that, are having great results and everything. And that could be in 30 years from now or 50 years from now, when these technologies are kind of widely implemented and everything. But we know that until we get there, there's a lot of things that we need to find out, right? And everybody that is in this group know that lean is not only about reducing waste, or not only just in time, or not only kind of reduce inventory, right? So lean is about continuous improvement, right? So we need trained employees to solve problems, and that's the goal, right? And the goal is solve problems to achieve a better performance, right? So it is a human-centric system where we have to train employees and incentivize them to solve those problems on a day-to-day basis, and that the lean tools are the solutions for those problems, right? So if you think about how to address a certain problem of a lack of material, or a problem that you're having some line stoppages or whatever it is, some waste in some different ways, you use the tools that you think will solve the problem, right? So all the tools, Kanbans and Pokeokis and all that, and all the methodologies are tools being used to solve problems, right? And they are about reducing variability, right? So we know that if you reduce variability, you can operate with less resources, right? So this kind of whole logic of reducing variability and going into using less resources so you can have better performance metrics, whatever performance you want to, because as you know, lean is amplified and implemented in a lot of different areas. How does technology gets into that? Like, technology is the way to solve those problems and to help solve problems, right? So since the beginning, since a long time, we we've seen that there is some tensions between there, right? So even Jeffrey Liker books say that you can use technology, but it have to be stable and non-technology, right? So when you're reducing the amount of resources that you're using, you have very, very little wiggle room. So if the technology is not trustworthy, you're going to have worse problems than if you don't use the technology or the information technology, right? So he talks there in that book about those tensions, right? And then we have also examples of, Toyota didn't implement ERP, didn't run to implement ERP system. They took a little bit more time than other companies or EDI. We had the past discussions about, is e-Kanban a real Kanban or is not a real Kanban, right? So these kind of technology, we know that Lean was implemented in a very primitive kind of settings, right? We don't need information technology, but these information technologies got into the solution of problems, and now they are part of what we know Lean, and they help us Lean systems in very kind of different ways, right? So interesting perspective is how can these new technologies, and they're very different as you guys study Industry 4.0 digitalization, they are very different, right? You can have technologies in every kind of different area, and they may impact the system in a different way. So some of them will probably, fit in very well into what we want. Some of them will fit very badly and maybe works towards the contrary or what you want in a Lean system, right? So some of those questions relate to, how does they impact autonomy, right? We want autonomous. How does it impact problem solving, right? Because we want workers to be solving problems. So if you're a total autonomous system, how can you have workers solving problems? Is the machine going to solve problems now, or how does that change people interaction, right? So you probably all taught some of those Lean concepts in classes, and from my experience, I know it's very different to ask a team of students to do a value stream map in a computer and to do a value stream map with paper and Post-it notes, like old style Post-it notes and brown paper kind of a thing, right? So because although there is a lot of benefits to use the technology, there's also some other kind of aspects that may negative impact in some way. The same way, there's things that are very good, right? Data collection that's amazing for analyzing problems nowadays. The technology that we have to collect data, and then how autonomous equipment are collecting data all the time, and then you can do problem solving with data instead of instinct. So that's amazing. That's what we wanted in the Lean system. So some technologies are very good at 3D printing to prototyping and find solutions very quickly. That's amazing for what we want in the Lean system. So you can see that you have these benefits, and some of them not that beneficial, and we need to find ways to do that. Also, we in kind of the Lean thinking, you should be focused on solving the problem, not using the technology. And sometimes we know that people are focused on using the technology instead of solving the problem. So there's also this tension. Maybe I should think about how this solved my problem instead of how to implement something, and then don't have the benefits of that, right? At the same way, we took maybe 30 years to have good frameworks to implement Lean. Maybe now we know how to implement Lean a little bit more with value stream mapping and other tools. But then with Industry 4.0, it kind of becomes, okay, the companies are, and I interact a lot with companies, they don't know what to do, right? So what technology to implement first? What should I do after? What should I do before, right? How does these two things fit together? Because Lean you have these Lean departments and divisions that kind of are spread out and can touch different departments of a company. But then the technologies also touch a lot of other departments in the company, right? So how those things happen, what technology to use, what one they're work. So these are things that kind of coming into problems that the companies are facing nowadays. So I don't want to take much of the time. I hope I kind of did a kind of overview of that, and then I can go back to Alejandro for the Industry 4.0 perspective.
Thank you, Giuliano. So you will see that things that I will mention now, it's the other side from this number here. Therefore, I put this picture here because Giuliano is talking about, he is saying that he's seeing the 6 number and I'm seeing the 9 number here in the screen. because it depends from where we start. Starting from an Industry 4.0 point of view, we need to discuss more about the implementation journey. We hear a lot about the mantra that says first 4.0, but maybe in this call we can also question this kind of mantras that we find sometimes in academia. For instance, what kind of digital technologies can help to better implement lean? Do we need to be a lean company to be ready to start to use some digital technologies? Giuliano was mentioning before that, for instance, you can use advanced artificial intelligence and big data and sensors and other digital technologies to collect data and to learn about your problems, and they make better decisions. This is part of digital transformation, and it's not necessarily the last step or the last mile when we start the journey, a transformation journey of a company. So one of the things that from the Industry 4.0 perspective we need to question is, well, where we start. Are we starting from lean? Are we starting from Industry 4.0? But when we start from one of these perspectives, what is going to happen with another perspective? For instance, if we have a typical company, a mature company that is already very mature in lean, should this company just adopt technologies to support the system, or these new technologies that are adopted can help to rethink how lean is structured in the company? We haven't seen so many papers question these kind of perspectives. The redesign of things based on the adoption, on a convergent adoption of these two streams of research. So what we want to see more is, from at least me, from the Industry 4.0 perspective, is how we can really change the other side of the coin. If we are starting from the Industry 4.0 journey, we start to discuss an implementation of digital technologies, how this will change and transform the lean side, and how the lean side will transform the other side, and what will be the tensions and maybe the paradoxes between that. You have followed the IJOPM literature in the recent years. The paradox theory has been grown a lot in this perspective, because now we are assuming that things are not so linear. It's not so linear to say first lean, then Industry 4.0, or vice versa. We have many situations in which we need tools from both sides because we have different problems. And sometimes these tools can coexist, and they can create tensions also. And we need to coexist with these tensions. And the first part of the company that we want to address in this call for papers that may have to lead with these tensions are the workers. So my point is here, my message is here is, even whether we consider lean tools or whether we consider Industry 4.0 technologies, in this call we want to see a worker's perspective. What is happening with people that are facing these things inside the factory? So if the worker is using lean tools and now we are implementing digital technologies, how this will affect workers? What will be the challenge to workers? For instance, the Industry 4.0 literature is talking about skilling, reskilling, and upskilling workers. Many of these digital technologies are for de-skilling workers. So maybe this is not so very well fitted with lean manufacturing in the workers' engagement and empowerment of workers. Or if we want still to have a lean perspective of the factory, when we are using technologies that creates a de-skilling of workers, how we will lead and deal with this to avoid tensions in the factories. Also, when we need to have reskilling or upskilling of workers, what are the implications of that for lean as well? So the point is, my challenge and my message for people that are, especially from the Industry 4.0 perspective, we need to enter in the lean mindset, to think about the workers' role in the lean concept, and then think how this technology will shape these workers. But also, lean experts will have to think more about technologies and think whether technologies can also boost lean and help to redesign how lean things are happening in the factory. So you will have to, in this Confo paper, maybe go out from the comfort zone and think more from the other side to really be in the end of your paper in the middle term between these two perspectives and considering the workers, and Giuliano put here people in the company, exactly, because it's not just only workers, it's also managers, directors of the factories, the people that think strategically on the implementation of these concepts or the investments in such implementation as well. So this is just to provoke a first view from our sides. Of course, you may have more doubts than answers, and this is the idea, because after we want to open for questions and we want to answer more direct some of your questions. So let's move then forward, and then I want to open now for Matthias and Moacir about the guest editor's view on the research methods and paper styles that I'm in this Confo paper. So first, Moacir will talk about the considerations about some potential research methods. Please keep in mind that this is just potential methods. It's not, you might have other innovative methods that are not considered here, but we want to give you an overview of what we want to see when you adopt one of the most classical methods for this call. And then Matthias will speak a little bit more about the impact pathways paper. So Moacir, go ahead, now the word is with you.
Thank you very much, Alejandro. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you. And I think that after this whole explanation, I try to be brief here in order just to give an overview or some hints about research methods in this special issue. I think that we are open to a wide range of research methods. We are mentioning some of them in this slide, right? So as this special issue is trying to find some empirical evidence and also theoretical explanation from this, I think that we have a lot of different options for you concerning research methods. Some examples are case study research, action research, design science research, experimental research is very a good attempt for this kind of questions, surveys, among others. I think that the most important thing, I think that I'm going to try to talk a little bit about each of them and giving you some examples. Please, Alejandro, go ahead with the next slide, please. Yes. So I did an exercise some days ago, and I tried to get some papers from International Journal of Operation Production Management, which applied this type of research method. So our hint for you would be try to explore this thing, because as we are in an interface between engineering and management, I think that not all of you are really sure about the rigors that it's needed for a journal like International Journal of Operation Production Management. So it's really important that you follow the academic rules and all the characteristics according to the research method that you choose. So, for instance, it's possible to have just one case study. Yes, it is. As this example, for instance, in a paper of Raquel Grifford, Van Waart, and the colleagues, for instance, they do exactly a single in-depth case with a lot of success. So they made a lot of extensive data collection, and they applied a lot of validity and reliability methods for qualitative research. So not only multiple case studies allowed, right? So maybe we have a really representative case, which is useful for our research questions. Also, longitudinal studies, it's also interesting, for instance, this paper of the colleagues Jérôme Demast and et al., which studied a case of Six Sigma by means of a longitudinal case study. So it's another excellent example of a longitudinal case study in which they used a lot of qualitative techniques for data analysis, like, for instance, coding and content analysis and event sequence reconstruction and all. And of course, that another important characteristics of our special issue is about the theory. So theory development, theory testing, I think that's almost mandatory in our special issues. So when build case study, you need to be aware of that. So you need to advance theory. So as I said, we are in an interface between engineering and management, and this point is really mandatory for operations management. So I think that's something that you be aware. And of course, that multiple case studies, that's the most common method within a case study. Alejandro, please, the next slide. Of course, that also opportunity for action research. Maybe it's also a very interesting research method. Of course, that again, the theoretical lens used to observe the phenomena is really important. Also, thematic analysis or other qualitative techniques, and also research rigor concerning action research is really important for our special issue. Careful details about the learning cycles, exactly what these paper do in an excellent way. So Alejandro, please. Another, yes. Design science research is also a very important method that is rising nowadays. It has been appearing in some papers, in some journals. So I put this example of a papers from the colleagues from Finland, in which they have an extensive data collection with artifact development and testing. So this is also mandatory in design science research. They use the SIMO approach in order to explain mechanisms and develop propositions in order to advance theory. So this is also mandatory in when you use design science research. What else, Alejandro, please? Again, also experimental research. It's also an important idea, as we are dealing with people, we are dealing with worker. So it will be a very important method maybe to address some of the research questions that we propose. So these are two examples in general operations management, or the application of such methods. In both, you are going to see a strong theoretical support. Again, really important. And the second one, you see the use of RCT, randomized controlled trial, which is really good. A research method that can be employed, especially when you deal with workers and the impact of technology and so on. Maybe it's another good idea. And finally, Alejandro, next slide, please. Yes, and then finally, survey research. Of course, that these are just examples, as Alejandro said, just some examples. You may choose other research methods. But concerning survey, of course, it's a very well-known and very used research method in our field. So it's really important to have a strong theoretical support. In this case, for this example, for this paper I selected randomly, they used social exchange theory. It's just an example, of course, that can use a lot. Another hints, the correct choice and explanation of statistical methods used. One important thing is that traditional surveys with simple respondent, small size, and without any more robust common method bias approach, like for instance, multiple respondents per company or a combination of data source, are not recommended. So they are not very useful for International Journal of Operations and production management. So this is an important hint concerning survey research. And of course, a very strong discussion of results and contribution to theory. Again, it's really important. So I think that concluding, I would say that a wide range of methods are accepted. We are eager to receive this, but of course that we need to conduct it rigorously and within the standards of International Journal of Operations and Production Management. Right, so I think that Matthias can continue talking about this, right, Matthias? And again, thank you very much, and we are open for questions, of course. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Matthias. Thank you, Moacir. Matthias.
Yeah, I will really make it short. Impact pathway takes a different approach. It's a relatively new type of papers by IJOPM. It's relatively short, so it's 3,000 words, and it should be 3,000 words. Yeah, so it's just a short paper, which can be based essentially on a single observation. Okay, what is impact pathway not? It is not a viewpoint paper. Okay, so there should be some practical observation. Can be a single observation, can be really just, there need not be too much rigor in the observation itself. But what is important, there should be a disruptive nature in that observation. Okay, it's a little bit like an abductive step, which is the initial step to drive the research cycle. Yeah, we don't expect that you do the whole deduction and induction in it, but it's really just the reporting of the abductive step. Hey, I observed something interesting, and the main evaluation criteria will be the disruptive nature. So it should be really saying, like I'm seeing it, or Alejandro seeing it and thinking, wow, I didn't think that. Wow, that is really something nobody expected. Okay, it's not a viewpoint or comment paper or what is your opinion for that. IJOPM has different formats. It's really just about interesting observation with disruptive nature, less rigor. Obviously, if you would have more rigor, it would be a full-fledged paper. So it's really something to provide a pathway for future research. So it should have a big impact and provide a pathway for future research. So that will be more or less the basic idea of the impact pathway papers. And I think it fits very well with the topic. Good, that's from my side.
Thank you, Matthias. So you can guys say that we are targeting a varied variety of research methods and topics. Of course, for us, it will be very interesting for the special issue having this diversity of methods and approaches for our special issues. So you are very encouraged to use your best research approach for this call, and we don't have limitations regarding research methods. I think that the most challenging point in our point of view is regarding survey research. Most of us work with surveys. We have many papers on surveys, but we know that today, if we want to advance on Industry 4.0 and lean, focus on workers or focus on people, we need to create more theory and to advance more in causality as well. So therefore, Moacir highlighted here because we have many surveys, and this is not a critic, but it's like the state of the art is based on many surveys that are based on collecting how much different tools and different technologies the companies that adopt, and then using regression methods. And we know that IJOPM is looking for something else in terms of the rigor of the method. So especially for surveys, we think that we need to see more combination of data and to see more robust analysis, especially what Moacir highlighted in terms of common method bias and all these kind of problems. And IJOPM is really interested in receiving more impact pathways. We all are learning with this. Matthias presented this here because he has already a paper published on this perspective. It's a really important opportunity now because of this topic, which is really oriented to practice, so we can have interesting papers here in the impact pathways approach. So final considerations about the call for papers. These are the key dates, but I just want to highlight the review process. It's a short review process, so up to 2 rounds of review, major, minor, and then improvement. And the very important point is the IJOPM will review. We will screen these papers and then will be sent to the reviewers, and then IJOPM manage the reviewers part. And after our final recommendation, there's also another step of the chief editors in chief that they will make the last decision. So we take from our shoulders a big pressure, which is making the final decision that IJOPM also keeps this, and it's important also to preserve also the quality of the journal. So let's move to questions and answers. We don't have so many people here now in the online, so we can also open. You can do as you prefer. You can just open your mic and make your question, or put also in the chat box as you prefer, and we will be happy to answer as much as possible what are regarding your questions. So any here with any first question? You can also raise your hand and open your mic.
Desiree just put a question there for Matthias. Impact pathway papers, do you mean more abductive papers then?
It's a question of definition, okay? There is a lot of definitions around now. For me, a single observation which leads to an abductive step is enough, okay? 3,000 words is not a lot, so you really have to take care. It's a very short thing. If you're getting together more than 3,000 words, it would be a regular submission, okay? So you really don't have too much space for making more than just having abductive observation. It should be disruptive, okay? So the main criteria is really more the content and how interesting it is than how rigorously the abductive step is more or less realized, okay? It's really an opportunity for, hey, I saw something and I think that's just so interesting, it will advance the research for the next 2-3 years, and it's really a platform for this kind of observation, okay?
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks, Matthias. It helps.
There's another question here. I would like to know if knowledge management paradigms are considered as solutions for your call for papers. Yeah, it's possible. Knowledge management theory has a lot to contribute to this interface, because knowledge management is concerned about people. When we are talking about skilling, reskilling, or especially de-skilling, we are considering how we can sometimes make automation of tacit and explicit knowledge. Sometimes we need to share knowledge in the factory to create engagement in the workers and so on. So knowledge management theories and the deployment of different perspectives like knowledge sharing, knowledge creation, knowledge transformation, all these theories are useful for us as an approach, as a theoretical lens for our call for paper. I don't know if please, Matthias, Moacir, Giuliano, if you have any other thoughts, please just open your mic and feel free to answer or to add to other comments. Any other question here?
Can I make another comment to the impact pathway, just as an example, okay? A good example would be, everybody says there only exist white swans. I saw a black swan. That would be enough, okay? Just saying, hey, I saw a black swan. Maybe we should question this general assumption that there are just white swans. Okay, it's about this kind of things, of observations in practice, which then influence something. Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. In the meantime, we are waiting for another question. I want to add something that Giuliano mentioned here in one of his comments. Lean is not only for manufacturing, but all company and to other business. Exactly, is a very important point, because in our talk we are talking more from an industry perspective, but it's not necessarily. It's, for instance, healthcare activities, healthcare, service systems, and many other areas where we have digital transformation and lean tools. We can use this perspective to investigate how this is connected to workers. So you can feel free to submit any paper regarding the use of lean and digital transformation in other fields as well: supply chain, healthcare, service systems, and so on. So it's not just about manufacturing, although manufacturing is predominantly the field in which we see more applications of these tools and technologies.
Can you stop sharing maybe, Alejandro?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just...
So we have another question: that does system dynamics modeling simulations of interventions and interactions qualify for this special issue?
These are very good questions, because we can be interested in these topics, but we need to consider IJOPM's profile. Of course, IJOPM's has a more empirical profile, similarly to Journal of Operations Management, which is different from POM, Production and Operations Management. So simulation, for instance, is not the field of IJOPM. So even when we might be interested in the issue, it's not the main scope of the journal. So you need to be concerned about the scope of the journal and the profile of the journal methods. Therefore, we are focusing more on empirical methods. I don't know if you guys have another thought and comment about this point, which is, I think it's a very important point.
I was actually talking with the editor about that, because I'm doing a lot of simulations of papers, and IJOPM stopped to publish simulations some years ago. So they did a lot of publications before. IJOPM is in principle not against simulation as long as the simulation is empirical founded. So no simulation studies that are just abstract models or something. For that, POMS, etc., is a better outlet. If it is a simulation of a real life process and there is real theory coming out, then yes. It's the same like JOM. Also JOM accepts simulation papers. It seldom happens because it's very complicated to do, but they even had a special issue on practice-driven simulation. So practice-driven simulation and system dynamics is very welcome. Simulation and system dynamics, which is just based on generalized models and has no practical impact, is not welcome. That's how I would define it.
Good.
Right.
So we have another one. Industrial technologies such as smartwatches apply to in production system are interest of this call. So I can answer that. I'll say yes, right? Because it is one industry 4.0 technology and digitalization. It deals with human, right? Because humans are highly interacting with smartwatches. And there was there's a little bit of literature already on the smartwatches. I remember reading some papers about that as well. So yeah, if you use again the robust methods that we're talking about, and that could fit well in this special issue, right?
Giuliano, and let me add something else. This is Moacir today. He mentioned that there's an opportunity also for experiments if we consider one specific technology like smartwatches or augmented reality or any other specific technology, there is a good opportunity for experiments because there are some factories that they are testing with some of the workers. They are not implementing fully in the whole factory. So they are making some tests. And if you have some access to these kind of tests, you can also have a very good opportunity at hand to consider some specific technology and how this affects workers and how workers behave. This is a nice experiment based on some specific smart workers technology or smart working technologies.
We have another question there. Study with automotive sector, reporting continuous improvement, maturity, lean, digital maturity, behavior model, human elements in the shop floor environment. Yeah, I think it'll be yes as well, right? So kind of a exactly what we've been talking about. I don't know if anyone else want to comment on that, but I think it'll be yeah.
I think the topic is okay. In the end, it's a question of how good the research method is.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that is a presentation of topic. The topic is of course okay, but in the end, it's really dependent on the strength of the research method because it's not such a new topic. So somehow you have to convince us in terms of method and in terms of theoretical contribution. Yeah. So the topic, of course, is good. The topic is just a perfect fit. It's then really depending on how much contribution to theory is there and how good is a method in order to support that. It's a more emphasizes something also to say, IJOPM has a stronger emphasis on contribution, on theoretical contributions and on the rigorous side. Also in difference, for example, to JOM, where it's really much more on rigorous side. So yes, obviously IJOPM papers have to be rigorous, as Moacir said, but content and contribution is higher valued, okay? So IJOPM really emphasizes also the qualitative aspect, and if there is a good theory contribution and the method is just not 100%, we still take it. Whereas by JOM, they would not take it, okay? So there's a little bit that interest. So for IJOPM, it's really the contribution should be first. There should be really a tangible good contribution.
Good. There's another question. Paper dealing with designing a new methods using design for X techniques for the consideration of lean and I4.0 is interest. So I think Matthias kind of already answered that, right? Yeah, if it's related to lean and Industry 4.0 and the human, all that aspects, in a sense, the idea is going to fit. But then again, you have to look at the rigorous of the methodology and the contribution. So I think that also answered that. I don't know if anyone else wants to add to that.
Let me add something, Giuliano, regarding this question. Important thing is the IJOPM doesn't target to propose tools. It's not the main target like IGPR. For instance, IGPR or production planning control are more journals in which tools are proposed to be used after to be adopted. We want to advance in the theory behind that. So when you focus on dealing with designing a new methods or something like that, you need to provoke how this contributes to a deeper understanding of the practical application of these technologies. As Matthias said before, what is the contribution to the understanding? So it's about creating more understanding, not necessarily to create a tool to be just used. I think this is another difference between some of the journals. It's interesting, but if the focus is just on the tool itself to be applied after, to be useful after, it might not be so suitable for the journal. But if you use this tool to create an understanding of how this can change the system or how we can learn of that, it's interesting to the journal.
It could be a perfect design science study, okay? But then the full criteria of design science XY, which design science is not, I just do an artifact and it works. It's I do an artifact and out of the process of doing the artifact, I learn something. Whether that then is framed as a design science study or intervention-based studies, that is up to you. But important is that the theoretical contribution is somehow coming out, either of the design process or something else. So it's really the theoretical contribution. Yeah. I agree.
There's another question for the lean experts here, Giuliano and Matthias. Thank you for your presentation and explanation. Topics such as agile or agile and digitalization fall under the scope of this special issue.
Moacir, you didn't say much. If you want, I can answer, but if you want to, we want to hear your voice.
Oh, Moacir, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that all within the lean, it's under the scope, right? Lean agile or lean agile or something like that. Maybe if that has implications for technology and all of which we discussed here, maybe it can be, right? So it can, because it presents some similarities with lean. It presents some techniques which is the same. So maybe, I think, in my opinion, it's under our scope. But of course, that considering all the topics and the contributions to theory and the rigorous method that we discussed so far.
Yeah, and this is important because let's say agile or smart watches are specific parts of lean and industry 4.0, and it's suitable to our call. But the point is, if the research is considering the role of people in the middle of that. So I fully agree with you, Moacir. It's perfect, but it needs to have the focus on people. This is the main point here.
So I have a class to teach. Sorry, guys, but thank you everybody for being there, for listening. We're just waiting for your papers. Very excited about this, but you guys can keep talking there. Sorry.
Yeah. We asked just the last question. Thank you, Giuliano. We asked maybe we can just answer this last question and then we can finish, because we are on time here and we want to respect the time we set here for this presentation. There is one question from Rodrigo. Would you consider any of the following topics? I think maybe, Moacir, this is for you because you presented here the methods. Multiple case studies to evaluate digital transformation in the food retail industry in time of crisis, involving points of improvements in the management of people and processes, or, for example, or use of action research to reduce waste and improve the digitalization process using lean transportation in the offshore industry.
Yes, I think that the topic is under our research, our issue. Using action research, no problem at all. And you are dealing with reducing waste and the relationship between waste reduction and digitalization. So again, it's under our topic. But again, it needs to clearly to present in a multiple case study, as we said, what's the theoretical contribution and all the support and how you are going to advance theory and knowledge. So I think that this is the important thing. I think that the topic is within what we want, especially if I think that the title itself, it's not clearly mentioning lean, but maybe you of course that you can maybe change something in order to incorporate lean aspects. So I think that the topic is within our special issue.
Perfect. Thank you, Moacir. So we are then finishing here our presentation. Just to make a final comment, is that please be careful with the schedule. IJOPM is very rigid with its schedules, so we won't have many rounds of major reviews. So we will have as hard work of screening the papers in the first round before sending to the reviewers. So be sure to send a mature paper, because sometimes I know we sometimes when we see a call for paper, we try to send something that can also evolve after during the process. But since IJOPM has a short time in reviewing, they want to have at least just a maximum two review rounds. And we will need to be very focused on that and considering maybe a major change and then a small change and then the final approval. So be careful when you are submitting to try to have as much mature as possible your paper, because this will be helpful for the screening process of the submission. We hope that we could answer as much as possible the questions you had, but also in the call for paper in the journal's website, you will find our emails. We'll also send to all the registered people here this presentation in the report, but you can find there our emails, and you can just send us an email. We received some emails before, and we answered about the scope of the topic that the researchers are interested to send something and so on. This can be also helpful for you to avoid some effort in something that is not so relevant to the journal, or the contrary also, when you have a very nice piece of paper, but you are in doubt if it's suitable for the journal and for our call, we will be very happy to help you. We will want to be helpful so you can have your best research published there and see some progress in the knowledge of Industry 4.0 and Lean impacting on people. So thank you very much to all of you, and have a nice rest of week. I'm sorry.
Thank you all. Thank you
Bye.
very much.